What's up, everybody? Welcome to Kiya and Jalon Studios. It's your boy Jay.
It's your girl Kiya.
And today we have a what do we got?
It's a mid-season review.
Mid-season review.
Alright, you guys, so as you guys know, yesterday, or should I say Wednesday, we actually got the 4th episode of Boba Fett.
I got to the 4th episode of Boba Fett. You caught up to the 4th episode.
Okay, but you know what? When I started it, guys, I couldn't stop watching. I couldn't stop talking about it yesterday, literally. But anyways, so yeah. There's supposed to be 7 episodes in total, so technically it's kind of like mid, episode 4. So it worked out, and I'm glad I got to binge it because after one episode I had to see more. But we're just gonna get right into it as far as our thoughts on everything so far. So first impressions and first initial thoughts. What were yours?
Well, it made sense to me, but I will say this. For those of you who have holes in your idea of what Star Wars is, you need to go and get caught up. It's what a lot of people. Star Wars has a lot to do with timeline, which is a big issue that I've had with Star Wars because they didn't handle timelines the right way.
They did it all backwards.
Everything they did things backwards, and they had certain things put in shows that they probably shouldn't have. So that's one of the main things I want to put out there. Boba Fett is taking place way after all of the events that we see in the movies and shows, except maybe Rebels. You're seeing Rebels sort of happen parallel time to what we're seeing here. Maybe a little bit, you're seeing this is going to be following towards the end of the war when Anakin defeats, when technically Vader defeats the Emperor and Luke, and Vader ultimately dies. So keep all that in mind. Boba is very old at this point in time. He is not young anymore. Boba Fett is probably maybe 60s or 70s at this point. He's very old. Because keep in mind, he was about maybe 10, 11, 12 years old in the Clone Wars, Star Wars Episode 2. So when Jango was killed by Mace Windu. So he was very young at that time period, and he's now lived from that period all the way up through, really through all of the events that we see in Star Wars afterward, including the Clone Wars, including Rebels, and including Star Wars Episode 3. Including all of the time period now that we're seeing with Mandalorian all the way up to this point. That's a long time, people. He's been alive for a very long time. So when people are watching this show, you're looking at him, you're probably like, okay, 40s, 50. No.
Like 60, right? He's
a lot older than that. So when you're seeing him, losing fights and different things like that, it doesn't surprise me because knowing Boba Fett, actually watching Clone Wars and different things like that, Boba was never really a gifted fighter. He was gifted in weapons combat and different things like that. But Boba was never accused of being a great fighter, just like Jango was never accused of being a great fighter. Mandalorians handle hand-to-hand combat. When you take off their suits, there's not much really behind those. So you see Boba get beat up a little bit. It's like, okay, he's old, and you put that with the fact that he was never really a gifted fighter. He didn't really learn any form of outside of weapons combat until he met with the Tusken Raiders. And then also considering the fact he wasn't completely healed until Episode 4. We never saw a fully healthy version. Exactly. We didn't see a fully healthy version of Boba until this point. So yes, the show started off a little slow, but if you understand who Boba is and in the time period we're in, you sort of have a better understanding of why the show is coming along the way that it is and why his approach to being a crime boss is a lot different than what we've seen in the past.
Right. And so I know for me, when I first watched it, a lot of people, I've been seeing this a lot of people have not been liking the flashbacks. There are some people that think that they should have just done maybe like the first few episodes with the flashbacks, and then it goes up into the future. Not the future, but the present time. So that way people wouldn't be so confused with the flashbacks. For me, like maybe like the first 2 episodes, I didn't really see what was the point of the flashbacks until it came full circle. Maybe like the 3rd episode. That's when I was like, oh, okay, so that's what was
around episode 4 actually.
Yeah, actually, yeah, 4 is when
4 is really when everything's starting to come together.
Right. I didn't mind the flashbacks, but I do think it probably would have been nice to have the first, like, again, the flashbacks out of the way, like in the first couple episodes, and then go into the present time so that everything made sense. You know, everything made sense of, you know, why those things were, you know, significant. But for me, I mean, I really liked it.
I like the way it came together.
Yeah.
At first, it doesn't make sense until you see why, because a lot of people don't understand the dynamics of a bounty hunter. Boba, pretty much ever since his father died, had been pretty much on his own, right? He was always with Jango. When Jango got killed, he was on his own for much of that time period after. Like, he was either between different bands of bounty hunters up until the point where he was just completely alone, just taking jobs by himself.
Right.
So when you take that into account, he's going from a person who's always tried to do everything by himself to now he meets the Tuskens. And he sees the dynamic that they have, the group, the tribe, and what was necessary for them to achieve what it is that they achieved as far as the train goes.
Right.
And now his sort of mentality has changed. It's like, okay, number one, I don't want to be taking these meaningless jobs just to die.
Right.
Because fact of the matter is that they left me in the Sarlacc pit to die.
Right.
I had to escape on my own. So now he's like, okay, I don't want to be just doing these odd jobs that can get me killed. I want to now take control. But now he understands, okay, I can't take control and do this by myself. I need a team behind me.
Right.
So people are like, okay, well, that's not Boba. I'm like, exactly, that's the point. It's not Boba. He's sort of trying to make a transition into being a different type of I guess, villain. We're seeing, because keep in mind, Boba is still a villain. I mean, we're seeing a different side of him.
He's being strategic.
But he's more strategic. He's not the kind of villain that he was before. And he's not really a clear-cut villain either. I mean, you can consider a lot of different, in DC, for example. Technically, Batman can be a villain or a hero. That's what a vigilante is.
Right.
That's what a bounty hunter is. A bounty hunter can be good if you pay him enough. Right? But majority of the time, Boba was paid to be bad.
Right.
So Boba is still a villain. He's just figured, because keep in mind, it's the crime syndicate. It's still crime. So he's still a villain. He's just being more strategic and smart about the way that he's moving as opposed to the way he would have done things.
Right. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I think for a lot of people, we're like, okay, so Boba Fett is soft. And then even Finnick brought up that point. You know, so you know, she brought up that, and then he went into why exactly he was, you know,
not soft, but smart. He used the word strong. And
I know, but Finnick said that
she said the Sarlacc pit made him strong, made him soft. Or was it the Sarlacc pit or the Tuskens made him soft? It was the Tuskens made him soft.
So she said the Tuskens made him soft, but like I was just like, you know, I was thinking the same thing, because I was like, this does not seem like Boba Fett when I first watched it. But then when everything started making sense, I was like, bro, he's smart. Because what made me realize that was when he was talking about the Rancor, and he was like, he wants to ride the Rancor. And remember when Finnick was saying, I think it was episode 1, right? 1 or 2. She was saying
Jabba used to be carried.
Yeah, he used to be carried, and I was like, if you think about it, the Hutts rule, you know, using fear, and they literally got to where they are on the backs of other people. And he's demonstrating that, hey, I'm not where I am because of other people or using other people to get where I am. I did this myself by riding a Rancor that's one of the most feared creatures that there is.
One of the most gifted beasts in war and in battle as well. Being
able to tame such a beast like that, that's all the statement that you need. Even the dude that was there, the only thing he feared was that creature. So like it's just it says a lot, and it's very symbolic. And even the fact that he uses there's another thing about fear too. He doesn't use fear. He didn't, like, even when he was assembling, you know, his family or his team, he didn't use fear to control them or anything like that. He actually showed that he cared for them and demonstrated that even despite their past, he was still like, you know,
and even then he understands them as well. It's like, okay, they may only be cooperating for this reason, but it's because of this reason that they'll stay.
Right.
So he's not. People are making it seem as if he's soft. He doesn't want to kill them because he's soft. It's because it's like, okay, we have a common interest right now, but when that common interest runs out, then I'll handle it.
Right.
So he's handling it like a mob boss. It's like, okay, why would I get rid of what could be an asset? Not allowing them to be an asset. I'll let them be an asset, but when it becomes too much of an issue and what they're bringing to the table isn't enough, then I'll just get rid of them.
Exactly. Yeah, he's being very smart about it, and he knows what he's doing. Like, even with the, I don't really know their names. People call them the Power Rangers. I'm like, they're just so messed up for that.
The Power Rangers.
I kind of like their style.
They're the mods.
The mods, right? So, the things with them is I thought was cool is that, like, when I thought about it, I was like, bro, why would he want them a part of his team? Like, why would he do that? Like, why would he, But anyways, it was an interesting thing about it, because I was like, if you think about it, he was kind of in the same position where he was lost until the Tusken Raiders found him and made him a part of it. Of course, he had to prove himself to them, but he became a part of their family. So I think he saw that they were obviously lost. They didn't have no money, and so they had to resort to doing other things and committing crimes in order to survive. So I think he could see that, was just like, hey, come join my family, so that way they can kind of have the same experience that he had, and then in turn, that's loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Like, he gains loyalty from doing that, and that's better than gaining fear, because eventually, fear, it doesn't control people for too long. Obviously there's downsides to controlling people with fear, but I think with his strategy is definitely something to be reckoned with. Like, people may look at that, even like, different characters and stuff, may look at him and be like, bro, like, nobody likes you, like, nobody has any respect for you. But I think it's really about to hit hard for people once they see his full, like, everything's starting to,
because now he has the Rancor trained.
Right.
The Rancor is now trained. So I mean, each side of his hand was ready to dismember everybody else. So the Rancor is now trained. Even when you look at what happened with Black Krrsanton, and where he let him go, I believe it was episode 3. Yeah. And he came back to him at the end of episode 4. Was like, yeah, I have a job for you. Yeah. So now it's now you're starting to see it come full circle. It's like, okay, you're starting to see that all the moves that he made, because even then, like, people don't, like I said, this is why you have to watch Boba Fett throughout the Star Wars timeline to fully understand who he is, because Boba Fett was very impulsive. Look at who he was as a young man in the Clone Wars. He was very impulsive. He acted off of emotion. He didn't think anything through. All the plans he made, never thought through, just really fly by the seat of his pants is what Boba was. Right. But now you're starting to see him slow down and use sort of wisdom, where it's like, okay, boom, boom, all my moves are strategic. Right. And now you're starting to see him sort of become, he doesn't need to shoot all the time. It's like, okay, I have other people handling my business for me. So this is that's sort of what comes with being a mob boss. You don't always have to get down off of your throne and compete in hand-to-hand combat. Why do you think Jabba didn't? Jabba was one of the most feared, I guess, people. Well, not people, creatures in the universe. Yeah. And he did nothing. Like, Jabba wasn't killing anyone, but he was still one of the most feared people in all of the universe, simply because of the way he delegated authority. Now, Boba is attempting to do the exact same thing, but he's using respect as opposed to fear, which in a sense is more powerful, because eventually people aren't afraid anymore. Right. Fear goes away, which is why Jabba ultimately wound up being killed. Fear goes away. So even though I feel like people are kind of like, hey, he's whack, like, why is he even here? Why is he in leadership right now? I think all of them are going to have, like, mad respect for him, because they're going to see that. And then even with the leaders, I forgot what they're leaders on the planet as well, right? That have their own, like, I don't really know what to call them, sorry. But when they had that meeting, a lot of them were like, well, why should we, risk our people, right? The heads of the families, they're like, well, why should we, sacrifice our people because of a situation that's not affecting us, it's affecting you, so why should we do that? And he didn't sit there and try to argue them or persuade them. He said, okay. He said, I'll do it. Because he knows that in the end, when they see that what he's capable of, because at the end of the day, it's going to benefit them. Because even after he's conquered, then technically they're not off the hook. They'll obviously in time probably be the next And chances are they're gonna owe him something.
Right.
So they're all gonna be sort of in a sense indebted to him.
Right.
So I mean, even then, like you're looking at the kind of moves that he's making in the way. Because keep this in mind. Mm-hmm. More attempts were made on Jabba's life because of the fact that he was feared. Mm-hmm. Whereas with Boba, you're more likely to make a deal. Mm-hmm. With somebody you respect, as opposed to just killing that person, you would more than likely make a deal. Mm-hmm. So Boba, even though he doesn't have the respect yet, mm-hmm. when he gets the respect, is more powerful than fear. Mm-hmm. Because now people are more likely to deal with you on a business level, where it's like, okay, I'm not coming in here to kill you. Mm-hmm. I'm coming in here to make a deal. And
then also you might look at him and say that he's weak, like physically, but I'm like, well, yeah, because in the first couple episodes, like his fighting, it wasn't bad, but you could definitely tell that he was lacking in like the fighting scenes. But I think now that he's completely fully healed, I think we're really going to see the full extent of his, like physical ability.
I want you all to keep Black Krrsanton in your mind.
Yeah.
Because he's going to become literally, this is why it's so important that he now has the respect of Black Krrsanton, is because Black Krrsanton is the only one who could really destroy everything that Boba Fett is trying to build. Notice they didn't beat Black Krrsanton. Mm-hmm. They just caught him in a predicament where they could drop him inside of that hole. They didn't beat him in any sense of the imagination.
Yeah.
So
they got lucky.
They got very lucky. He likely would have killed everybody in there, including Fennec Shand, who is a beast in her own. So keep that in mind.
Because keep that in mind, guys. He was a gladiator, like one of the best out there.
He was the greatest. Yeah. I mean, I'll put it like this: Black Krrsanton is such a beast. He would have completely X'd Chewbacca.
Oh yeah, there was actually a battle between them that I feel like would look so cool in live action.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah.
He would X Chewbacca. Yeah. Bottom line, like I got him in a match against Chewbacca. Is Black Krrsanton. So seeing him now sort of partnering with Boba, which we see in the comics as well.
Yeah, he was already.
Those two together are going to be a problem. Yeah. So like I said, you're starting to see this come full circle. Mm-hmm. It took some time to come around, but now I would suggest those who had an issue with the flashbacks, when the season's over, go back and binge watch it all the way through, and you'll see how it all fits together. Right. It all makes sense. If you haven't had the opportunity to watch Boba Fett, watching him through the Clone Wars and different things like that, or you haven't been able to read the comic books, what you're seeing now doesn't make sense, because Boba's reputation in the shows and in the movies sort of gives you this idea of who he should be. And then you're seeing him in the Book of Boba Fett, and you're like, okay, that's not the Boba Fett whose reputation, you understand what I'm saying? But there's a reason why. Even when you look at his character throughout, you can see that he's trying to make an adjustment to be not a bounty hunter. Because who he was before, he was the perfect bounty hunter. I mean, probably the only bounty hunter that was greater than him is Jango Fett, who's the originator of the Clone Troopers. So there's a reason why they use Jango Fett for all the Clone Troopers, because Jango Fett was probably the greatest bounty hunter that ever lived.
Exactly.
Obviously you have guys like Cad Bane and different guys like that who come in sort of behind, but Boba is right up there. But there's sort of a shift that he's making, a sort of transition that he's making, where he's no longer a bounty hunter. He's becoming a crime boss. They're two very different things, and you can't behave the same way doing it. Right.
And you know what? Also keep in mind that this is the end of the flashbacks, as far as we know. So we could maybe get some backstory to him and Black Krrsanton. So we might get a little bit of history with them as well. Not like a bunch of it. They might mention it, but that would be nice to still get that mention that they did meet in the past. So that'd be pretty dope. But yeah, for those of you who don't like the flashbacks, they're over. But I mean, it's really about to get fired up now. Like, it's really, I didn't expect it to be this good, or I knew the series would be good, but I didn't expect it to be like as good as it is right now. So for me, I love it. I can't wait for the next episode.
This might actually, for those who, I'm gonna continue looking into this.
Oh, you fought Kenobi too.
But this might be a crossover to the Kenobi series.
Yes.
They might use Krrsanton as a crossover to the Kenobi series.
Yes, because he fought Kenobi. He battled Kenobi. So I think they wouldn't just bring him in. Of course, they'll have to link some things together.
This is Jon Favreau, people. Jon Favreau, as many of you know, he's done a lot of work in Marvel, and Marvel loves to do this, where it's like, okay, there's a character that's in one show that's gonna cross over into another. We see the same thing with Fennec Shand in the Bad Batch. Fennec Shand, Ming-Na Wen made an appearance in the Bad Batch, and now she's making an appearance she made an appearance in Mandalorian, and now she's in the Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
So, don't be surprised. Do not be surprised. I actually think that this is something that's going to happen very soon. Keep an eye out for it. I'll do my research and see what scenarios in which they could cross the two over. But I would not be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. They got this thing on lock, you guys. They know what they're doing with this. So, I mean, I'm sure we might see some other appearances. I know some people have some theories as to who else they might end up bringing in the next couple of episodes. So, for me, I'm like...
Don't be surprised if you see Luke Skywalker, because Vader, I believe Vader did hire Boba and Black Krrsanton to hunt down Luke Skywalker in the past. So, yeah.
Yep, so I mean, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know what you thought about the season so far. I personally don't think 7 episodes is enough, but you know, it is what it is. I know
it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, so let us know your thoughts. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely subscribe. We have a lot more stuff coming out for you guys. Make sure you check out our last videos as well. We reacted to Moon Knight, and we also did a video on Ian Owsley.
The Liar.
Yes. If you guys are familiar with, Avatar Last Airbender live action by Netflix, you'll know what we're talking about. Go check it out if you haven't heard anything about it. We go through everything. It's not looking so good for the guy. So we'll keep you guys updated on that situation as well. But make sure you, stick around, support us, and we'll see you guys next time.
Post for the thumbnail.